Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. And I am joined here, as always, by the man whose Boston Red Sox are still the only team to come back from a 3-0 deficit. Kyle, how are you doing?
It's going pretty good. I'm definitely chalking this up as half of a Red Sox championship if Mookie Betts wins a World Series. So,
right.
Times are tough a little bit for Boston sports fans right now, but we're not Atlanta fans, so we have that going for us. Overall, pretty good.
Yes, really tough. It's been 16 months since your last championship. I mean, real drought. Yeah, it's been tough. All right, well, we're going to talk football as always. Hello to everyone in the chat. Make sure you ask us your questions about what we're currently talking about. We'll try to get those in there. As always, we're going to start things off with the Sunday night game. The Rams, 49ers, upset here. I think a lot of people felt like the Rams were going to kind of run away with this after the 49ers lost and got embarrassed by the Miami Dolphins last week. They're able to bounce back here. Jimmy Garoppolo, who seemingly there somehow became a quarterback controversy, despite the fact that it seemed like CJ Beathard was the next best guy on the roster. He shows there is no controversy, completes a very nice 69% of his passes, over 8 yards per attempt. Nice. Kyle, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my first thought, I'm going to go on the Rams side here because, we give Baker Mayfield a lot of, crap for his inconsistency, rightfully so, and Josh Allen a lot for, from throw to throw, it's inconsistent. I feel like you can tell almost in the first 5 minutes what you're getting out of Jared Goff. And it's almost in two different directions. This guy makes no sense. He either looks like one of the best talents in the NFL, or he goes 50% completion percentage, struggles to get a lot of things going on offense. And this Ram offense really falters when he's not on his game. And, he threw the pick in the end zone on 4th down. I just thought there was a lot of throws that he left out there, a lot of bad throws. He didn't get a lot of help from Cooper Kupp, who had a couple big drops. But I think just overall, he continues to baffle me when he looks so bad in a lot of these games.
I mean, yeah, he is one of those guys where when he bottoms out, he can bottom out hard. I mean, obviously, you remember a specific game very well of when he bottomed out. It is a real problem. Obviously, it wasn't all his fault. There were some bad drops by Cooper Kupp as well. But yeah, this is I think for the Rams, is this just a hiccup? Are you still good, or is this a bad loss here for the Rams?
I'm chalking it up as a hiccup. I'm not worried about this Rams team. I still think they have plenty of talent. I think San Francisco was actually pretty desperate in this game. I didn't think the season was over if they lost. I'm not ready to cross them off in that regard. But you can't lose division games and fall to 2-4, especially in the NFC West. I think they really needed this win more than the Rams did, and they showed it. They came out and really jumped them early in this game, and I thought Garoppolo had a really big bounce. Had a really big bounce back performance from Garoppolo. I thought he was really good in this one, and I think that this one was a lot more of 49ers just really needed in this game. And the Rams still put themselves in a position to win it. They had a shot at the end. They just couldn't get the stop there at the very end of the game that the 49ers ended up holding on. They just the 49ers just did what Kyle Shanahan does. They ran the ball really well. They dominated time of possession, and Jimmy Garoppolo made enough throws for them to win this game.
Yeah, I think another thing worth mentioning is that, one of the storylines coming into this game was will the San Francisco 49ers, who have kind of struggled in pass protection, be able to slow down Aaron Donald? Not only did they slow him down, they stopped him. It's a really good job by them. Any other final thoughts? I don't have too much to add to this one. Any final thoughts on the Sunday night game before we get into some of the top stories from today?
I think that just about covers everything I had. It was, the thing is that watching these two coaches coach offense, even when it's not like a high-scoring game, is just pretty fun to watch. I love how both of these teams use their receivers so well in the running game. They're so active in blocking as well, not even just getting carries, but blocking. And, Deebo Samuel gets the big carry, they get the first down and win the game, seals the victory. I thought it was it's just fun watching these two teams and these two coaches do their thing.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, let's just get into things are going well in Tampa. It's a great day in Tampa Bay. Things have been going very well sports-wise. Another great moment here. this was shocking to me. I did not think that this was going to go the way it did. Green Bay went up to a 10-0 start, and I was kind of thinking, here we go. This is Tampa Bay once again. We're going to get blown out by a good team. And there was a Jamel Dean pick six. Fun fact, Aaron Rodgers has thrown more pick sixes in Raymond James Stadium than in all other NFL stadiums combined. He's thrown 2 there, only one other one in his career, which is just absurd by itself. He's only thrown 3. And that really changed momentum. He threw another near pick six right afterwards. And I mean, this was all Tampa Bay from that point on. They outscored Green Bay 38-0. They got consistent pass rush. Even without the Green Bay Packers were not able to stop the run. And even with Mike Evans only getting 10 yards, they were able to pass the ball. Honestly, Brady didn't even have too much to work with. And the running game was good. I mean, this was everything. Every box was checked off for Tampa Bay. This is a great win.
Yeah, I was impressed. They didn't get a ton of yards on offense, but they didn't really need it a lot of this game. And, it does kind of seem cliche to almost say a game is flipped on one play. I try to get away from statements like that, but it honestly feels like the pick six really just changed everything. Like you said, I feel like it just made it a complete difference getting that touchdown. I thought maybe Rodgers might have been banged up on that play in the end zone when Antoine Winfield hit him as he was going down because he just didn't feel the same after that. I'm not going to make any excuses for him. I don't know exactly what happened on the play, but he did seem a little like he got up a little slow on that play, and then all of a sudden he just struggled at that point from getting anything going. The Tampa Bay defense was fantastic in this one, getting 5 sacks, 4 on Rodgers, 1 on Tim Boyle, who I didn't know was the backup. He was one of the worst college football quarterbacks I've ever seen and somehow has made the league. So he gets in there, 13 quarterback hits. I mean, they lost Vita Vea, and I think that's still going to hurt them long term. But having Levante David and Devin White on the same football team is almost just unfair. Those two are just absurd in their ability to track the ball and make plays. They were both incredibly good in this one. Like you said, Brady didn't have to do a whole lot, but when he did, he found Gronkowski, who had a big game. Ronald Jones is, looking like a whole new running back once again. He was running tough again. I thought it was an impressive performance from Tampa Bay, who continues to, look the part as one of the contenders in the NFC.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially coming after, a loss where they did not look the part, where, against the Chicago Bears, who I keep saying I think they're better than people realize. We'll get into that in a second. But I think that this is really, I mean, this is probably the best. Troy Aikman said it on the broadcast of when's the last time the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have blown out a good team like this. I can't remember when the last time is. It's been probably over a decade since it's happened. Ronald Jones, again, it will always baffle me how Dirk Cutter only gave Ronald Jones 23 carries in his rookie season, despite him being healthy the whole year. I don't know how he did not he's looking like a good running back right now. I'm not saying he's fantastic. Another story this hour, Gronkowski's back. I mean, Rob Gronkowski he's certainly a top 32 tight end in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely had his best performance. I thought he's been working into it a lot this season. You could clearly tell, anybody thinking that even if you're a world-class level athlete, taking an entire season off and then just coming back like everything's okay, like nobody can do that. I think that's just ridiculous to expect that. I just think that, he's worked it into this season and now they're finally getting him going. I think one of the things that's going to be, one of the things we keep talking about with this Tampa Bay team is that, how little they've had with all of their players on the practice field, getting all these players up to speed. I still feel like they haven't hit their full potential. I still feel like there's a lot of plays that the offense could be even better. I think that this changes everything. But, I mean, the biggest difference when their 4 wins and their 2 losses for Tampa Bay continues to be that it seems like Tampa Bay's only competition is themselves. And this is another cliched answer, but when they, turn the ball over, make dumb penalties and dumb mistakes, this team loses football games. They committed a bunch of penalties that kept them out of the end zone against Chicago, and they weren't able to get the touchdowns they needed there to put the game away. And this one, they converted a lot of those opportunities. If they don't commit penalties, this is the best team in the NFL. When they commit a bunch of penalties, they struggle to win football games.
Yeah, and they committed 0 penalties today, and that's never happened. I guarantee there's never been a game the Tampa Bay Buccaneers haven't committed any penalties before. Very bizarre. Yeah, I mean, Brady threw 166 yards. I mean, that's the crazy thing. We put up 38 points. Another crazy stat is that we basically had 2 pick sixes because we had 1 pick six and 1 that got to the 2-yard line. So only getting 2 yards on those 2 drives. So usually the other team ends up with way more, yards after 1 pick six, let alone 2. Tampa Bay still outgained Green Bay. I mean, just a bizarre, really a bizarre performance. We're talking a lot about Tampa Bay. We should probably switch it to Green Bay a little bit. Aaron Jones only 15 yards on 10 carries. So that's 1.5 yards per carry. Aaron Rodgers under 50% completion, 4.6 yards per carry. And again, they have another day where they give up a big running game. I think it's worth mentioning, how concerned on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, panic, 1 being it's fine, just a burner tape game, move on. How bad is this loss?
I don't know, like a 3. I wouldn't consider it much of any. I mean, this team's still 4-1. I mean, I still think they're in a position to win the NFC North. It wasn't their best performance by any means, and you'd like them to show up against a good team. But they've also beaten teams like New Orleans in this season. I feel like that they're just fine. It wasn't the best performance from Rodgers. I think he made a couple mistakes, and that derailed the entire game. I mean, I don't know. I'm not really worried about this team overall. I still think they're going to be good. I think the biggest thing is that front seven for Tampa just proved that they might be the best in the league, even without Vea.
Yeah, I made sure I remembered his name. It's like Roaches. I think it's Edwards Roaches, something like that. He did a great job though as Vita Vea's backup as well. Give him credit. Also, correction. Eric Hansen said they had an offsetting penalty. That's right. Tampa Bay did have a penalty that was offsetting, but they didn't have any penalties accepted for them. So yeah, but yeah. No, I mean, I think I'm a little bit more bearish on Green Bay after this loss. I think this is a bit of a scary loss. That this is kind of the first big test against a good secondary, and they got a 0% on it.
I mean, that's fair, but at the same time, I still think the sample size is that Aaron Rodgers is still really good. I don't think he's going to have this kind of performance. He was missing Bakhtiari in this one, which is a big part of their offensive line.
Well, they missed him. I mean, he went down. They were down when he went out. I mean, Bakhtiari went down in the third quarter.
Yeah, but I still think that matters, having him on the field. I think that I'm just going to lean that this Packers team is going to be just fine as soon as the guys are back on the field. This is the first game they got Adams back after missing a few games this season. I think that they're going to be just fine. I still think they're the best team in the NFC North.
Let me clear. I think they're the best team in the NFC North too. That's not my concern. My concern is this now? If this is the team I feel like is a Super Bowl contender, and this is the concerning game if you want to win a Super Bowl. That's my standard. Is it concerning from that standard?
I guess, yeah. I mean, the thing is I never really I wasn't ready to put them in the Super Bowl contention zone because I feel like that, one of the things I thought last year was despite their 13-3 record, they weren't the second best team in the NFC. I still feel like that they're maybe a piece away from being at that level. I think that I don't think that their ceiling's as high as the Buccaneers or the Saints. That's just my opinion on the Packers. That's how it's been in the offseason and heading into week 6.
Sorry, I had a little cough. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess that's fair. Well, I guess we're kind of on the same page now. Maybe I was just higher on them than you were. Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. I think the Bakhtiari coming back, that's going to be huge. I mean, he is their second most valuable player, so they need him back. And once he went down, that kind of killed any chance for a comeback. But all right, let's talk about from a game that there is no coming back from to a game that it looked like Drew Lock was going to help you out and create a comeback. Your New England Patriots. This was an ugly game. This was almost a beautiful game at the end for you. It ended up being a loss. I'll just give the floor to you. What were your thoughts on your New England Patriots losing a game that you said they were going to blow out heading into it, and I said that there was no chance the Broncos were winning. So good job by Denver for shutting both of us up.
Yeah, it was just a bad performance. I thought that I mean, it was sloppy. The Patriots just looked sloppy a lot of this game. They looked like, I'm not going to make a bunch of excuses, but they looked like a team. I think I kind of just thought it would be fine because Tennessee has basically just said practice doesn't matter. But it looked like a team that practiced twice in the last 2 weeks, basically. I think Denver was a better team in this one. That Cam Newton, I didn't think was bad. I thought, both of his interceptions were off deflections, which stinks. But he took some really bad sacks. A lot of it were coverage sacks that receivers once again can't get open, and he's holding the ball way too long. He's got to make a decision there. Bunch of bad coverage sacks, especially when you have a field goal kicker who can't kick 45 yards. The Patriots, they're dealing with some losses on the offensive line, which stunk as well. I think the biggest thing that this showed is it's exposed a lot of the flaws with the New England Patriots. They have no skill position players. I think, if you're going to go through it, I think Damiere Byrd's solid, but he's nowhere near the a number one receiving option. Julian Edelman, bad performance again. He had 2 catches for 8 yards on 7 targets. He continues to look bad. This was Ryan Izzo's best game as a New England Patriot at tight end. And he had 3 receptions for 38 yards. And he had a back-breaking fumble on a possession that killed one of our drives. And it was still his best game as a New England Patriot. Damian Harris was.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. If you want to jump in, feel free.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, fun stats here. Leading rusher for New England by far, Cam Newton. He had 76 yards. Second was Harris with 19. Also, Cam Newton was tied for 4th in receiving yards this game with 16th among New England players. And the top passer of this game was Julian Edelman. So maybe guys are just playing the wrong position. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, just change them all around. I mean, this is just
quarterback controversy.
Yeah, exactly. Julian Edelman. I mean, he is like 7 for 8 for his career passing the football. I mean, this is just continues to be, I'm watching this game and now just looking at guys like I would kill for Tim Patrick on this team right now. And Tim Patrick's like the 3rd best receiver on the Denver Broncos, who aren't a very good football team, but I mean, give credit to the Broncos. The defense played really well. The pass rush was awesome. Brandon McManus is a weapon because as soon as he hit the 40-yard line, you're probably scoring points. The offense for the Broncos wasn't very good, but Phillip Lindsay was just killing us on the rushing game. And like I said, as soon as he hit the 40-yard line, McManus is probably banging it in. He was awesome in this one. I mean, it's a bad loss for New England. There's no way to chalk it up. I think it's very obvious that this team needs a couple of weapons. I still feel confident in this team making the playoffs, but falling to under 500 for the first time in October since 2002 hurts. And I think that they need, Kyle Rudolph's team just fell to 1-5, and Marvin Jones just had 2 catches for 8 yards on his team. I'm sure one of them, or not, if not both of them, would love to be in New England right now.
Yeah, I see it. In the Streets Gaming says, I knew Jackson Krieger was some fat nerd. I don't know who that Jackson Krieger guy is, but I'm sorry that he happens to be a fat nerd. But yeah, I'm going to challenge you on something, though. So you said that the real problem is, and you wrote a great article about this, by the way. I retweeted it on what's the website called again?
GuyBostonSports.com.
Guy Boston. I was trying to remember if it was Boston Sports Guy. Right, Guy Boston Sports. But my question isn't kind of the whole reason they went out and got Cam Newton that you don't need necessarily great weapons? Like, for example, if you're a receiver, do you really want to go to play for New England where you're going to be blocking on half the snaps?
I mean, sure, but at the same time, if you trade for a guy, he's kind of on contract. I mean, what's the point of having cap space if you're not going to utilize it for talent? But
yeah.
I hate to quote Stephen A. Smith here, but I think it's time to say after this sample size, N'Keal Harry is a bona fide scrub. He cannot play the game of football. He runs an awful option route at the end of the game on 4th down where the cornerback's shading him inside. He doesn't go outside. Cam Newton actually puts the ball on a dime on the outside, and he runs the wrong route. He cuts inside on a ball that's supposed to go outside, misses it. And it continues to show that N'Keal Harry is going to be a trivia question for the guy who was picked before DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin. I just think what's the point of cap space if you can't understand what your weaknesses are on a team and say, we need to address those. We haven't had a tight end in a year and a half, almost 2 years of no tight ends. We haven't had a good receiver in a year and a half, almost 2 years. What's the point of having cap space if we can't utilize it? See these guys who are basically wasting away on teams and say, let's upgrade, let's get better. Because like I said, Kyle Rudolph and Marvin Jones are just sitting there, and we're trying to throw the ball to N'Keal Harry and trying to talk about we're a playoff team in this situation. There's just no way that N'Keal Harry should be on the field for a playoff team. There's no reason that Ryan Izzo should be on the field for a playoff team. It's just embarrassing. It was a great performance from the defense, completely wasted.
Yeah, that's good stuff there by you. We'll ask one final question before we go to something else. Cam Newton ends up with 2 interceptions. Were they his fault, or was that just or what happened there? How was his? Let me rephrase that. How was his day? Rate Cam Newton. Give him a grade.
I'll give him a 6. I don't think either interception was necessarily his fault. The first one was deflected. Was a bad deflection, and the defensive lineman made a great play. I'm going to give a defensive lineman credit anytime he makes a diving interception because that was pretty awesome. James White was open there on the flat, who was our only playmaker. The second one, I don't think was going to be as open of a throw. I don't think N'Keal Harry was open, which big shock there. It was deflected again, so that obviously deterred the ball. But at the same time, I didn't think he was open on that one. And, I talk about the offensive players not getting open, but you just look at this offense, and we have a 4th and 10 with the game on the line, and they're blitzing both of their safeties. They have zero respect for any of our guys going downfield. I don't know how any quarterback has any amount of success throwing the ball downfield in that sort of situation. So I'll probably put it, I said 6. I'll probably put it at a 5. I think it was just fine, and I don't give the interceptions his fault, but I think he could have been better. But at the same time, how's he going to do that when they have zero respect for any of our wide receivers or tight ends?
Right, makes sense. I said that was the last question, but one more thing. Antonio Brown, Honk Lives Matter, says, how about that? Return home.
No, I think I'm good.
All right. We'll move on. Let's talk about, I think, maybe the most fun game. Texans-Titans. What a wild one this was. It ends up going to overtime. The real key for this one was just Houston could not stop Derrick Henry. He had a number of big runs, the key one being, I believe it was a 94-yard touchdown. And also one more key takeaway from this game was I remember this was a game in London. I believe they were playing Jacksonville, where Tennessee was the favored team. They were down by a point. They scored a touchdown to be down a point. They go for 2, do not get it, and that's the end of the game. This time, they elect to not go for 2, and instead, they kick the extra point. They end up winning the game in overtime. I think maybe Vrabel learned his lesson a little bit there, because in certain situations, it makes sense. I think when you're the better team, like they were in both of these instances, it doesn't make sense. And this time, they're able to win the coin toss, march right down the field. Derrick Henry, 212 yards on 22 attempts. Kyle, what were your thoughts on this one?
Both of these offenses were so awesome today. This was, what we were waiting for Deshaun Watson this season. I think Houston left it all out on the line. I feel like this was we talked about it beforehand. I feel like this was kind of the make or break point for Houston, that if you're making the playoffs, you got to win this game. It's a big divisional game. It's a way to make up some ground on the division leaders. And, they came up just short. I give respect to Romeo. Is it the right call to go for 2 there at that point? I don't know. But at the same time, you give respect for, going for it in that situation and just, letting it hang out on the table, because the team needs the team just needs a win. And it was a great performance for Deshaun. And guess what? Randall Cobb was wide open on the play. He just missed him on the throw. He got hit as he threw it. He was wide open. And if they make that, the game's over. I thought that it was a great performance from both offenses. I was, almost ready to say, Ryan Tannehill was awesome in this game, but he made one mistake, and Deshaun Watson didn't make a mistake, and that was almost the difference. But he made up for it by an awesome drive. I think that my favorite play from this entire game was, they get the ball down to the 4-yard line, and Ryan Tannehill just makes a heads-up play of not spiking the ball when they get to the line of scrimmage with about 8 seconds to go. They don't spike the ball and let the Texans set up their defense. He immediately just isolates A.J. Brown, understands the matchup, and just goes to him. He gets the touchdown there to tie it up. That was just a great play from Tannehill and a great play from a veteran quarterback who completely has the trust of his team. He makes a great play. The Titans get it. Derrick Henry goes right down the field and scores. It was an awesome performance from the Titans at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy to think that like I feel like Derrick Henry is at best Ryan Tannehill is at best like the third like most impressive guy of this game, and he had 364 yards on 8.9 yards per attempt, 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. Obviously Watson was also incredible, 335 on 37 attempts, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Yeah, I mean this is it's incredible that Houston's still able to do this without DeAndre Hopkins, but at the same time, it's like I kind of just feel like it's over for Houston, right? They had to win this one.
Yeah, I really think it is. They're 1-5 now. I mean, like I said, I give them credit for putting it all out on the table. They understood they had to win this game, but yeah, I mean, it seems hard to come back from this kind of deficit at this point. You know, Bill O'Brien just put them in too big of a hole. Yeah, they're 1-5 and they lost a big game to a team that they really needed to beat to catch. And yeah, I think it's over.
Yeah, and also worth mentioning, I mean, like, stop Derrick Henry a little bit. Like, at least slow him down. Don't give up nearly 10 yards per attempt. I mean, with this crazy offense, you know, Deshaun Watson, 9.1 yards per attempt. Tannehill, 8.9 yards per attempt. Henry still had more rushing yards per attempt than either of those two guys. That was the difference. They could not stop the run. And even Jeremy McNichols came in. He had 5 rushes for 51 yards. So he actually had more yards per attempt than any of them. So, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously give a lot of credit to both of these offenses, but Houston's defense couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we were worried about with this team. I mean, this defense is very bad. I hate this roster. And it's kind of the reason why when you talk about all the available coaching positions this offseason, you know, some may view as Atlanta as a more desirable position than Houston because the cupboard is completely barren on the defensive side of the ball. They could not stop anything. You talked about Tannehill's numbers. You talked about Henry's numbers. They didn't do anything well on defense. This defense is just awful, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon.
Yeah, this is a mess. But you know what? Again, at least we get to watch. At least you know there is something fun though about there being a great quarterback on a bad team because it's like the Drew Brees 7 and 9 years where it's just like you get to watch them just go off every game and just try to keep their team in it.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, just let Watson do his thing and go nuts. I'm okay with that if they go, you know, 4-12, and then he doesn't get a good draft pick. They don't have their draft pick, so
right, yeah, exactly.
But just let him go nuts, so that's fine.
Yes, and also this could be the second time in 3-4 years that the Texans end up with a top 5 pick that they don't end up getting to select. Although the first time they're not complaining too much because that was a pick to help them get Watson. But all right, any final thoughts for this one?
No, I mean, Tennessee is a really good football team. This offense is awesome. I still don't know if they can stop anybody, but at this point, it doesn't matter because the offense is just playing so efficiently.
Yeah, agreed. All right, well, let's talk about your Cleveland Browns. This was a tough one. This is a team that the game we were both very excited for. I remember you picked Pittsburgh. We both thought it was going to be a close game. It was not. This was ugly. Baker Mayfield was bad. Eventually got benched, although I think that was largely just to keep him healthy. But yeah, this was, you know, Baker Mayfield. He threw an ugly pick 6 early on, and then when they were down 17, he all of a sudden was acting like it was desperation time, and you know, it's in the second quarter, or I believe it might have even been 10, and he just throws up another just crazy, like reckless throw that resulted in another interception. I mean, it was just it's everything that drives me crazy about Baker Mayfield this game. And I mean, obviously we'll get into Pittsburgh in a second, but what was your thoughts on? Let's start with Baker Mayfield.
Well, you know, we the last podcast we talked a little bit about the issues with the QBR rating. Mm-hmm. But, you know, if you're going to rate someone out of 100 and he gets a 5.4, that generally tells the story of a bad game.
Yeah.
It was bad. I mean, he put him out of the game essentially right at the get-go. He made a bad throw. Yeah, I mean, you can't spot a team like Pittsburgh, a 24-0 lead? You just can't do it. And he hurt them early on, and they weren't able to come back from it. It was just a bad performance from them. I think Yeah, there's really nothing else to say about it. It was bad, and he knows it's bad. I think Cleveland obviously knows it's bad. I think this team needs Nick Chubb a lot more than we think. Kareem Hunt's solid. I think he's obviously very good, but I think it was the difference between it not having Nick Chubb, who I think is the most talented running back, one of the top 3 most talented running backs in the league when he gets going or when he's on the field. I think that changes everything, and he was forced to pass more early, and especially once they went down, it just wasn't going to be good enough for the Browns with Baker Mayfield being forced to throw. This is kind of like what I said with the game, though. I feel like if I said this game was going to be decided in the first 10 minutes because I said if they're forcing Baker Mayfield to throw, Pittsburgh jumps out to an early lead, it's just going to get ugly because he can't make those throws against the best team.
Yeah, and I think really, we'll talk. Obviously, Baker Mayfield is what's going to get most talked about, but the fact that they held Cleveland to just 3.4 yards per carry on 22 attempts this game, that's just as big of a stat because that's why Baker Mayfield had to throw the ball and he was reckless with the ball. I see Moochie Studio in the chat says Baker had one bad game, everyone goes nuts, then he comes back and has a solid performance and Browns look good again. I don't really agree. I mean, I've still yet to see him have an above average performance this season, and he's had multiple below average performances. And to me, it's less about the performance and more about just what I feel about him as a player as a whole. And he just makes too many mistakes, even on games where he has good stat lines. Listen, I'm not saying get rid of Baker Mayfield. I think that it would be, I saw Case Keenum was trending on Twitter. I think it'd be insane to go with Case Keenum. I think that he does a lot really well. But we have to be honest about his faults if we're going to be, if the Browns are going to go anywhere, they have to recognize his faults.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I mean, I think he's a guy who's very limited in his potential. I don't think Case Keenum's the answer to put this team back where it needs to be. I think that it was just a bad performance. I mean, if you're the Browns, I think you're kind of dejected from this game because you've played the best 2 teams in your division now, and you've looked completely horrible against them. You've looked really good in the other 4 games, but you've played the best 2 teams in your division, and you've looked just not even on the same field, and I think that makes a huge difference. It's not like you're losing, you can chalk one up to a bad loss. These are the 2 teams that you have to catch. The one goal for the Browns is catching one of these 2 teams or beating both of these teams, and they don't look like they're even close.
No, they've gotten stomped both times they played them, and again, it's a disappointing loss, but let's try to flip things over. Let's talk about the positive now, which is meaning talking about the other team. I mean, this was a great game for Pittsburgh yet again. They're now 5-0. They're looking like, we already knew they were legit, but this just even, adds more to it. Roethlisberger, again, very similar. He only had 162 yards, but just on 22 attempts. He didn't have to throw the ball that much. Connor had over 100 yards on just 20 attempts, so he had 5 yards per carry. This was and of course, Chase Claypool continuing to be successful with a 74-yard performance. Just on offense, they were able to get it done. They looked good on offense, and they looked great on defense, as we already started talking about, where they shut down the running game and took advantage of Baker's mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was more of a talk of, the Steelers defense is finally looks like they were actually back in this one. We criticized them a little bit last week. I think that this is, them showing how good this defense can be. I still think it's one of the best defenses in football, and they proved that. They got 4 sacks in this one. They were 7 QB hits in this one. They got 2 interceptions, obviously, like we talked about, and they completely silenced this Cleveland running game that had been one of the best in the league through the first 5 weeks. The defense came alive. It's going to hurt without Devin Bush in the lineup. I think he is really important to a lot of what they do at the linebacker spot, and I think that is going to hurt, but I think that this defense needed this performance, and I think that they showed that they can, they showed that they were going to step up and play at their level.
Yeah, I like this question of, are they still a playoff team to you, them being the Cleveland Browns? I'm gonna say yes, but I don't feel great. I feel like they're a 7-seed wild card right now.
Yeah, I'll say yes too, and so the thing that I've talked about with the AFC this year is I feel like there's a definitive cutoff line. I know the Dolphins are 500 right now, but I'm not going to put them in that playoff picture. I think that there's 9 teams right now for 7 spots. And so you look at it, the Browns are 4-2. I think that the 9 teams, you look at them, it's going to come down to the Las Vegas Raiders, the Indianapolis Colts, the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots. So, but the Patriots fell below 500, so they just have to beat one of those teams. I feel like they can easily make the playoffs because, I feel like it's 9 teams and it's a huge cutoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Bucci Studio says, if the Browns can beat the Steelers or Ravens once, they should be all right. Yeah, but that's a big if. I mean, those are 2 good teams, so we'll have to wait and see. Let's talk about a wild come from behind victory. Indianapolis fell behind 21, but then Philip Rivers, basically Patrick Mahomes Rivers comes through, is able to come back. Hey, not really. He actually really had a very up and down day, but Indianapolis was able to get the victory. Thoughts on this one?
I feel like the second, they just spotted Cincinnati a 21-point lead.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was because the Bengals looked the Bengals looked more like the Bengals from then on out. And, not that I expected a lot out of Philip Rivers, but this Bengals defense was just really bad. And he finally came alive. I think this has to be Philip Rivers' best performance. The second half, at least, was his best performance in at least a couple of seasons. He finally looked like he came alive. He made some good throws there to bring the team back. I have no gauge for this Philly team right now, or this Indianapolis team right now. I mean, I think they look awesome in spurts. The defense, I think, can carry this team a lot of times. But then there's games like this where the defense completely falls asleep for the first half of the game. And then Philip Rivers just looks awesome all of a sudden for a stretch of this game. I have no gauge for this Indianapolis team, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I have no gauge for Indianapolis or Philadelphia. I think I'm closer on this Indianapolis team. So first, you're absolutely right. This reminded me very much of the Chiefs and the Texans playoff game, where it was a big lead early, but it wasn't necessarily because the Bengals were just dominating the Colts. It was just Colts made a few mistakes early on. Cincinnati was able to get a few plays. There was the fumble that led to a touchdown. So it really did feel like it was. I was watching this game, and when it saw go down to 21, I was like, I still think the Colts are going to win this game. I still felt confident that Indianapolis had it. They were able to come back, made it closer than it had to be. Rivers did have a bad fourth quarter interception after Indianapolis already went up. It didn't matter, but that was another low for him. But yeah, I mean, this is what they brought Rivers in to do. This is what they were hoping for him to be. And, this running game was fine, but it wasn't spectacular. This was a lot of just Rivers really doing very well. And, on his own, the Cincinnati Bengals defense isn't great. And I thought that, really what it came down to was Cincinnati realized they could get some big chunk plays, but they couldn't get anything consistent. They couldn't find a way to stay on the field for long drives. They could get these chunk plays. We also saw AJ Green prove that he's not washed up. He had 96 yards, so good for him. That's cool to see. But yeah, I mean, they were able to get some chunk plays. They were not able to get anything consistent. This Colts defense does a great job of getting off the field. They were able to do so here, and they were able to sort of crawl their way back and come up with the victory.
Yeah, I mean, 98 yards on 32 carries just isn't going to cut it, especially when you're trying to hold a lead. And it just, between that and the Joe Burrow turnover, it's just not enough to beat a good football team. I think, the Colts essentially abandoned the running game, and they still looked, and they were able to put it together on offense and put together some really good drives and some really nice plays. And that was really the difference in this one. I mean, I don't think Cincinnati is very good, and I don't think that they're going to be able to spot any other team's 21-point leads, but they were able to come back in this one, and they, it really just took Indianapolis to feel like waking up.
Yeah. Let's see. Distorted Llama. That's a fun name. Not very confident in the Colts so far as being a Super Bowl contender. I think I agree. I think that doesn't this just seem like, the Texans looking like they're not going to make the playoffs? Do you think this Colts are just going to sort of fill in that, the first game on Saturday of Wild Card Weekend, get blown out, sort of the same way the Texans always seem to do?
Yeah. I mean,
it seems about right.
I'm not overly impressed with this team, and it looks like it's probably going to be a playoff team. I mean, I do feel like, though, that when we're talking about Super Bowl contenders out of the AFC, there might be 3 teams in the AFC. I mean, Tennessee is going to be up there as well. But, there's 3 or 4 teams in the AFC, and at this point, it's the Chiefs conference to lose. So I don't feel like there's a lot of Super Bowl contenders anyway, and it's not going to be the Colts in that position.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one bright spot is that Rivers is someone who can go off at a certain point. So maybe just you hope that you go to the playoffs and he just, hits the right button. But then again, he's not necessarily known for doing that in the playoffs. So All right, we'll move on now. We'll transition from a great comeback to a near great comeback. This game was looking like it was going to be all Baltimore. I'm sure some people did not catch the end of this game and are shocked that they see the final score on this screen right now. It was looking like another one of those performances where Baltimore's secondary just completely shut down Philadelphia's receivers. They could not get any separation. They were looking great. And all of a sudden, Philadelphia came back. And I'm actually not too worried by Baltimore despite this near comeback, but they were a 2-point conversion away from tying this game. What were your thoughts on this one?
I was almost ready to come on here and say that this is the end of Carson Wentz in Philadelphia. This is the second game in the row, though, where Philadelphia has basically spotted a lead to a good football team and then tried to storm a comeback late in the game and couldn't do it. I mean, you can't give leads to, it's one thing to give a lead to Cincinnati if you're Indianapolis. For Philadelphia, you can't give leads to Pittsburgh and Baltimore and expect to win football games. It's as simple as that. They almost did a great job. They had 22 points in the fourth quarter, unable to get the conversion at the end. But I still feel like that Baltimore had this game pretty comfortably. Carson Wentz was in the Gabbert zone in this one. He was bad again. I mean, that's just what I'm going to say. He was bad again in this one. He didn't look great. He didn't look comfortable for 2 quarters. And, he got some big plays towards the end, but this team needs to find a way to get Miles Sanders the ball more. He can't have 9 carries. I know they were trying to come back, and that was a big part of it. They abandoned the running game, but I just feel like early in games, they need to find a way to get Miles Sanders basically the ball a lot of the time and establish that game and, find a way to keep him in the game early, and then maybe Carson Wentz can make a few big throws at the end. But they're almost falling out of these games, and they're just throwing away the run game, which is the best part of this offense.
Yeah, that's fair. Although, again, I'm not as low on Wentz as you are. I made sure I watched this game before coming on here. I think this is, it's similar to what you talk about with the Patriots, where it's like they just, Fulgham has been a great receiver, but he's all they got. I mean, this is a team. Ertz, I didn't think has looked great. Like, this is not a team that has a lot of guys who are getting consistently open. And the way they got back in it was Wentz just started throwing up balls into double coverage, and it started working. And he also got very lucky with, I thought, a bad pass interference call that got a 49-yard pass interference call when they were down 8 to get him inside the red zone. I didn't think it was that. He did fumble it again, which is worth mentioning. He has a fumble problem. Some guys just had that fumble problem. It was actually when he was running the ball. Again, got to work on that. But I didn't think it was that bad. I just thought that this is a team that he just doesn't have anyone to throw to.
I mean, that's fair. I just think that, I think it's fair. But at the same time, how is he going to continue to look so bad? This team didn't have a first down until Jalen Hurts came on the field. How is he going to continue to look so bad at the beginning of games? He, even when they almost came back against the Steelers, he looked bad at the beginning of the game. He can't continue to spot leads to good football teams. I think that just makes a huge difference in a lot of these games. They need a consistent 4 quarters, and they haven't done it all season. Yeah.
Well, you know what? For the Eagles, I still don't think they're dead. I still don't think that they're 1-4-1 now, right?
They're in the easiest division in football. Of course, they're not dead.
I really think that. I think this is the team. They're totally going to go 7-8-1 and win a playoff game against the Saints. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I can honestly see it. They're not going to be dead, but at the same time, this is another team that probably needs a trade. Like, how can they not add one receiver to this team?
Yeah, I think if they got some receiver help, I think this instantly goes from bottom-dwelling team to, not just a playoff team in a good division type of team. Big stretch coming up these next 3 weeks. They got the Giants twice, and they got the Cowboys. So, honestly, they probably need to go 3-0 in that stretch. But I think they can do it. We'll have to see. Any final thoughts on this one?
No, I think I covered it. Baltimore got the running game going in this one. Baltimore did get the running game going in this one. They kind of fell asleep at the end, but they got it going, and they did enough to win the football game on that side.
Yeah, I kind of forgot to talk about the team that won the game. That's bad on me. Listen, they still aren't running Lamar Jackson a lot. Even with that, he had over 100 yards. A lot of that, I believe only about 4 or 5 of those rushes were designed runs. Most of them were scrambles. They did have him with a couple key design runs though, so they're getting a little bit more into that. I think that they're just trying to be careful with it. I think they don't want to run him into the ground. That's what I think. He ended up with a very nice 6.9 yards per carry though, so good on him.
Nice.
Yes. All right. We'll move on now. Let's talk about. This was a game I was really looking forward to watching. I thought it was very fun.
The Jets and Dolphins.
Yeah, definitely not. Bears, Panthers. The Bears are good. The Bears are good.
I guess. I mean, this looks
they're
like
5-1. How are they? They're good. They're a good team.
Yeah, they're 5-1, but this is also their largest margin of victory all season. I mean, we have to put that in perspective. They're 5-1 in one-score games, and their one loss was an 8-point loss.
Whatever. Most games are one-score games. No,
it's not. There's a definitive statistic out there that says one-score games, it's definitely going to regress to the mean at some point. And, this it's the 2018 Bears again. I mean, this team, they made enough plays defensively to win the football game. I think that, one of the reasons when I said I picked the Panthers in this one, it was basically saying that the Panthers don't make mistakes, and they started the game off with a mistake that gifted the Bears a touchdown. And that was essentially it. The Bears didn't need a lot of points in this one, but yeah, it's the 2018 Bears. That's essentially what this team is, and they've made enough plays on offense to get these wins, but the defense is carrying this team.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, the defense is carrying this team. That's not a bad thing. I mean, the offense is carrying the Seahawks, but what we all are loving the Seahawks, but we all trash the Bears. I'm not saying the Bears are the Seahawks, but I'm just saying that I think this is the playoff team right now. I think that this team they're 5-1. They've beaten the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have proven they're a good team. And they just beat Carolina, who I think is a good team. And Teddy Bridgewater threw 2 interceptions. Part of that is because this Bears defense is really good. Like an element of this does have to go to, you have to give credit to this Bears defense. They play really well, and Foles does what he has to do. Again, he just cleared the Gabbert zone at 5.1 yards per carry or per attempt. But the offense, they try to not screw it up, and then the defense can take advantage. And I get it. I'm not saying that this is a Super Bowl team, but I think they're a playoff team.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this is a playoff team too. But is this would you be shocked if this team was representing the NFC in the Super Bowl? I would.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised. I don't think that they're a champ, but I wouldn't be shocked if they win a playoff game, and I wouldn't even be shocked if they find a way to squeak into the NFC Championship game. In a way that how every now and then a team gets into the NFC Championship game, but isn't an NFC Championship caliber team. That's what I mean. This team feels like a 1-win playoff team for me right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. They're, like I said, they're doing the job on the defensive end, but I still feel like, the recipe for winning one-score games is small margin of error, and Nick Foles, you're getting the good Nick Foles at times right now, but at the same time, he's a couple turnovers away from the Bears losing a few of these football games, and I feel like that's just going to make all the difference. I think that they're going to make the playoffs because I don't think, I think what we saw a lot of depth in the NFC maybe quite isn't there, and I think that they've put themselves already a couple games ahead, which is a huge advantage. But at the same time, yeah, I think that, winning these small games by one score or less, I think just makes a huge difference. I think that they're one mistake away from being potentially, 3-3 in this season. That's kind of cheap to say because they have gone out and won the football games, but at the same time, it's a small margin of error.
Yeah, but they also they went 3-0 where they went 2-0 with their backup quarterback in. Three of those one-score games were because they had Mitchell Trubisky start them. I don't know. I think that this team is legit. Listen, they play the Rams. Lock it in right now. Bears are going to win that game Monday night.
Who do they play? Sorry.
The Rams next week.
All right, I can bet you on that. We'll do another point on that one. I'll take the Rams.
Okay, I like that. It sounds good. Okay, but yeah, let's try to flip it from Carolina. They did not get this victory here. I thought they looked all right. I didn't think this was a terrible performance by them, but weren't able to get it done. What were your thoughts from Carolina's perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of, they had one turnover in the previous 3 weeks before this game, and that was the thing I really liked about this team is that they didn't make mistakes, and then they went out and turned the ball over 3 times in this one. A lot of that and they also gave up 4 sacks. A lot of that obviously can be attributed to the Chicago defense we talked about, but at the same time, when you're a team that doesn't have as much talent as the teams you're playing, you can't make mistakes like that. And I mean, that's the thing, because nobody picked the Panthers to be this competitive this season because it is kind of devoid of a lot of a talent. I think if you're going to win football games with that less talent, you can't make mistakes, and it proved to be a difference.
Yep. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. We'll move on. Let's talk about a surprising game for me. I was surprised by this one. Atlanta was able to handle Minnesota very well. I was more surprised. This score almost looks closer than it was. It looks like a lot higher scoring than it was. This is a much more lower scoring game, but garbage time. Both teams were able to score touchdowns. This was another one of those Minnesota Vikings offense getting nothing done. Clearly, Atlanta had the mindset of we're going to stop. We're going to stop what Minnesota is great at: the pitches, the running game, and the rollouts. That's what we're going to make an effort to do. And Minnesota said, well, we're going to try to do that anyways. It did not work out too well. Cousins ended up with, his stats look solid. He ended up with 9.5 yards per attempt in 3 touchdowns on 3 interceptions. But that's mostly garbage time. He wasn't terrible, but he had 1 interception that was tipped, 1 that was a great play by Deion Jones, and 1 that was just a missed throw. But as a whole, this was a disappointing day for the Vikings coaching staff on offense. I don't know what they're doing. No adjustments made in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts not having your best player out there, but I agree. They couldn't figure anything out, especially running the ball, which I don't think Mattins is bad. Obviously, he's not Dalvin Cook, but I don't think he's bad and shouldn't have this kind of performance against a bad Atlanta defense.
They could have had Barry Sanders. They're not going to get 3 yards per attempt in this game. Madison was getting touched behind the line every play.
Yeah. It was just a bad performance. I mean, neither of these teams could run the ball. But yeah, I mean, Cousins, you can't open the game with an interception on the first throw. And he just, it was the first play of the game. He throws an interception. I mean, I think Justin Jefferson continues to look awesome for this team, and that's the bright spot. But I mean, you have a average quarterback who's playing bad. You just can't do that. They continue to cost themselves these games by Cousins either starting off terribly. They have 2 games that they lost to 2 good teams because of just bad mistakes at the end of games, and then they played they've lost the games to 2 bad teams where Cousins essentially threw them out of it to start the game. Atlanta jumped them early. They had a 20-0 lead, and that was everything. I mean, give credit to Atlanta. They came out and won this game. I was saying that if they blew the 30-7 lead, then obviously there's something going on with Atlanta where, I mean, they still won a game that probably put them out of contention for Trevor Lawrence, but which makes it even funnier. But still, it's nice to go out and actually win a game for a change.
Oh yeah, no, they're totally going 7-9 now, right? They're 100%. That's what they're doing. I mean, I thought that, again, as I mentioned, Deion Jones just had made an incredible play on that initial interception. So, like, you can blame Cousins if you want. It was also a great play. It's one of those, to me, I thought it was like one of those, like, okay, great player making great play, we'll move on type of plays. But I mean, that's not – but what I don't like about it is that Minnesota, it's like, I can't, every time I watch one of these games, I'm screaming at the TV, put some faith into Kirk Cousins. You pay him this big money. Have him just drop back. Don't have him roll out. Just have him drop back and throw a pass. And then the first time I saw them do it in the second quarter, it was like after like 20 passes, then he immediately throws an interception. And I'm like, okay, well, there you go. Maybe there's some reasoning behind not trusting him. But yeah, I mean, Julio Jones was incredible. He was unstoppable. There was 2 4th downs on this play, on this game, that the Falcons scored touchdowns on both of them when they were, believe the closest one was at the 30. So this was just a good win for Atlanta, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they showed up. It was nice to see AJ Terrell get an interception. I think he's been really bad, and it's a really bad draft pick, I thought, so far this season. And he comes up and gets a pick. I don't think it was a perfect performance from the Atlanta defense, but they made enough plays in this one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to gauge Kirk Cousins. I mean, This guy has been yelled at more than any quarterback, I think, in the league the last 2 seasons. He gets berated by Adam Thielen in this one. The poor guy, he's just constantly berated on the sidelines. And I mean, maybe it's just how we should honestly feel about Cousins. Maybe the receivers that he plays with have a reason to gripe about him. He continues to make bad plays and throw his team out of games sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've defended Cousins in the past, but I mean, it's hard to defend him this year. He's not having a good year. I mean, it needs to be said. Is this game proof that the Jets should not fire Adam Gase? Because Raheem Morris, this team looked well coached. This team had a great game plan, and you don't want to be winning games if you're the Jets. So should the Jets make sure to hang on to Gase for 16 games?
I mean, yeah, that's what I've been saying. I think that's the only reason they're keeping him around is, go on 16, lock up that you're getting Trevor Lawrence. I mean, there's no point in ever trying to win a football game. Especially when, I mean, what are you going to have Greg Williams coach the team? I mean, he's already trying to get Adam Gase out of there, talking shit about him during the press conferences.
Yeah.
But,
we'll get more on that in a second.
Yeah, I think, I would continue to do it. I mean, 2-0 for interim coaches on their first games this season. That's big.
Yeah. And I'm rooting for Raheem Morris. He always seemed like a good, cool, he seemed like a very nice guy who was in over his head when he was the head coach for Tampa. So hoping things work out in Atlanta, although not too well, because I still want to have them be bad, just as a Bucs fan. But yeah, let's talk about a very fun game that absolutely nobody watched. The Washington Balls taking on the New York Giants. This was the matchup of the century. Kyle Allen taking on Daniel Jones. Who would turn the ball over more? Both guys had an interception, but it ended up being Kyle Allen who had the fumble that went for the game-winning touchdown. What were your thoughts on this one?
It seemed like at one point, neither one of these teams wanted to win this game. Just trying to trade away the victory from trying to trade away the victory here. Kyle Allen makes the big play. They still go down and score and then have probably one of the worst 2-point conversion attempts I've ever seen. It was a very weird game. But sadly, this is probably Daniel Jones' best performance of the year, and he only had 112 yards passing.
Yeah, I actually thought Daniel Jones was okay. In my opinion, this should have been Daniel Jones' first game where he didn't have a turnover. I thought the interception, I thought the knee was on the line. Should have been reversed. Terrible call. I'll be writing a strongly worded letter to the NFL office after this. But I mean, listen, they asked very little from him. He gave them enough. So there you go. I thought that this is, kind of sort of more of what we've seen from Kyle Allen with Carolina. He ended up doing some things very well. I actually thought both quarterbacks did have a small handful of impressive throws. But again, these are two guys who their problem is turning the ball over. I see Moochie Studio, the great Moochie Studio in the chat says, why did Washington go for 2? Make sure you get home in time to watch Game 7 of the NLCS, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't want to take on too long.
Yeah, you don't want to go to overtime at that point.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to playoffs. Just go for 2, see what happens. Yeah, it seems like a very obvious choice. It was a fun game though. Again, yeah, like you said, neither team seemingly wanted to win it. I actually do think the Giants wanted to win it. I just don't think that they're as good as they're trying to be. The Giants are weird to me. Can we start blaming coaching for the Giants?
I mean,
is it okay? Like they look way worse this year than they looked last year, and I don't think they're the offense is mostly the same. Like it's not like this is a completely different offense. Like Daniel Jones went from really promising rookie to legitimately getting compared to Kyle Allen.
I mean, that's the Jason Garrett effect, isn't it? I mean, no,
I guess so. I don't know who, but
I mean, I think if you're the Giants, you have to take away that your defense continues to look pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think James Bradbury is pretty awesome. But at the same time, I can't really see why not. This team has kind of regressed, and they're supposed to be better in all regards. The defense has improved, but the offensive line hasn't got better. Daniel Jones has seemingly regressed. And, for a guy who I thought was I liked a lot because it seemed like he kind of was a gunslinger. He seems afraid to throw the ball downfield this season. I don't know what the deal is. And, for a guy who makes so many mistakes, it seems like he's terrified of making mistakes. I don't really get what's up with it with Daniel Jones. I mean, I would blame coaching too.
Yeah. Hot Dog says Jason Garrett needs to be Ford. Yeah. Does he need to be Ford?
So, like, is this like hitting him with a golf ball, like
Yeah.
four?
Yeah.
All right.
Ford.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
I mean, that
that
seems
seems
a
harsh.
little.
Just
Yeah, that
fire
seems
him.
a
Yeah.
little. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll move on. This was another game that was played today. The Detroit Lions. Again, this is kind of the thing where it's like I could be coaching the Lions. At a certain point, talent does win out. And weirdly, the funniest thing ever, like Matt Patricia had like a great game plan for this one. Like he was like just on top of it. It's like I don't know why like the Jaguars. He circled them on the schedule 5 weeks in advance. Like I got Minshew.
He showed up for this one. I mean, it seems weird. Like it almost seems like it was as simple as giving DeAndre Swift some touches. Not like he had a whole bunch else to play for, and they finally given their young rookie some touches, and he looked awesome in this one. He made some great plays. I know it's Jacksonville, so you take it with a grain of salt, but yeah, he looked awesome. Got the team going early in this one, and I was really impressed with Swift. That was my biggest takeaway from this game.
Yeah, had that big 54-yard rush. That was the key one. And Stafford was fine. He was nothing special. But again, this is a talented team. They had a good defensive game plan, I thought, where Jacksonville couldn't get much going. And you're going to score points against Jacksonville. You just are. Their defense isn't very good. I don't have I don't have too much more to add on this. Keelan Cole did end up having a good receiving day for Jacksonville as well. But this was what we expected to happen, and it happened. Also,
okay.
Kenny Galladay had a really good catch.
Yeah, he did. I do have one question for you because you asked me this. Okay. You said, if you had the choice as the Jaguars between Gardner Minshew and Trevor Lawrence, saying you basically got the number one pick, who would I take? And I said Lawrence pretty definitively. It seems like the Jets are a lock for Trevor Lawrence, so I'm going to go with that. If you had the choice between right now Gardner Minshew and drafting Justin Fields or Trey Lance with either the number 2 or 3 picks, who would you pick?
I trade to pick, get more picks, try to build up the team. Because if you get a great quarterback, you're still going to be stuck in a tough spot for the next several years. And I think we still need more time on Minshew with some more talent. I trade to pick, try to build up some talent, be good in a couple of years as opposed to trying to just build around the quarterback because that's tough to do. And also, I think that there's too many holes on this Jaguars roster right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It wasn't, Minshew, I think, has kind of regressed. I thought he looked good earlier in the season, but it's so hard to judge him when he essentially has 0 offensive line, 0 defense. He has a couple good receivers and a running back who looks solid. He wasn't very good today, but I mean, he's got a couple pieces and then he's got a bunch of holes across his team. I don't know. It's hard to tell. So, I mean, I think trading it would be fair because you could really build up the talent that way. But, I mean, I think it is a conversation to have because I think he's had games where he's looked really good this season. He's also had games where I've thought he's looked really bad. I think it's a conversation to have.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And again, if you love one of those guys, if you think they're going to be like a Mahomes, then take them. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not. I still have to do a little bit more research on the college prospects, to be honest. But I'm not at this point like, okay, even Lawrence, like, everyone was crazy about Luck, and Luck was good, but Luck wasn't Peyton Manning. Luck wasn't Patrick Mahomes. So, it's such a crapshoot with rookies. I think I kind of am in the mindset of if I have a decent guy, I'm just going to go with the decent guy. But that's just my opinion because it is so hard to tell sometimes. Also, Twist FN says Minshew for president.
All right. Well, we got that going from. I already voted. Otherwise, I would have put him in a write-in ballot.
Yeah, is that a question, or did that just was the election tonight, and did we miss it, and did Gardner Minshew get selected? I'm not too up to date on things.
I don't know either. I don't pay attention to politics.
Yes. Okay. Right. Moving on. Jets Dolphins. I mean, what needs to be said about this one?
Hey, breaking news: the Jets are really bad. Yeah, Tua played. I forgot about that. He got in.
9 yards complete. 9 yards, which I double checked, is more yards than the Jets had this game. Although Tua did have more yards per attempt than Joe Flacco did on this one.
Yeah,
4.5 compared to 2 receptions for 9 yards. Flacco ended up with 186 yards on 44 completions. I mean, this is just a complete mess.
That's just absurd that Joe Flacco is throwing the ball 44 times in 2020. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I'll talk the positives. Miami, they won the football game. The defense continues to look really good. This wasn't the best Fitzmagic performance, but this was definitely closer to Fitztragic, but they didn't need Fitzmagic tonight. So that they had that going for them. I saw a funny tweet. I forgot who it was. I'm sorry for not shouting you out. But the Dolphins had more excitement from 9 yards of passing on 2 plays with Tua than the Jets have had in the last 2 seasons with Adam Gase. So, I mean, I think that just tells you the state of the Jets. And the Dolphins are 500. They're ahead of the Patriots right now. I mean, that's a big deal. This team continues to win football games. They continue to grind out a lot of football games. They have a very good defense. Or I don't know about a very good defense. They have a solid defense that tries hard. They have Myles Gaskin. Yeah, Myles Gaskin looks like a guy who's going to stick around, and Mike Gesicki is another guy who's really good. I mean, this team has a little bit of pieces, and they're continuing to play at a play at a good level. They're 500. They have that going for them.
Above average height level. That's what they're playing.
Yes.
Yeah. Moochie Studio about Joe Flacco said the Blaine Gabbert zone. That's right. 4.2 yards per attempt. Also, Ron Artest left hook. Joe Flacco looked very elite on that 28-yard sack. Yes, very good.
He continues to do things that Tom Brady could never do, which is take a 28-yard.
That's right.
Listen, it is October 19th at 12:07 a.m. In Central Time, by the way. So 12:07 a.m. on October 19th, I'm going to definitively say that Marcus May interception is going to be the best play the Jets have all season.
Okay. All right. Question has to be asked. If you had to bet even odds, are the Jets going to win a game or not? Are you going to say yes or no?
Once again, if I have a half of win as my over under, I'm typically taking the over just out of principle.
It's
but
tough,
like, where are they winning a football game? So let's look at this. I mean,
I have the schedule out in front of me.
Okay, go for it.
Yes. So they play the Bills. They
lost
play
by 20.
Yeah, they played Kansas City.
Lost by 100.
They played New England twice. They play the Chargers, the Dolphins again, the Raiders, the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Browns. I think the only one I really see they have a chance on, either it's going to be a huge upset or they beat the Dolphins, or maybe it's a situation where like Week 17, the Browns have made the playoffs and they rest their starters. Or maybe like Week 16, the Rams are like out of the playoffs and so they don't care. Like that's their best hope.
Yeah. They might as well just like try and schedule Central Arkansas, which it seems like everyone did in college, just to throw a game in there. They might as well just throw Central Arkansas on their schedule to try and get a win. They could play them on their bye week, Week 10. They might be a 3-point favorite in that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is a tough game for the Jets. Tough season for Jets fans. They've had a lot of tough seasons. When it's a tough season for Jets fans, that's how you know things are going rough.
Yeah, there's nothing nice to say about this team. So I guess that's that they're gonna get Trevor Lawrence. So there's that.
Yeah, Frank Gore 4.2 yards per carry, getting his 4 yards per carry as he will for the rest of time.
Yeah, I guess he's got that going for I just want the scenario where Frank Gore is playing with Frank Gore Jr. I think Frank Gore Jr. is a sophomore on Southern Mississippi, so I just need him to hold out for a couple more seasons. So he's playing with his son. That's the most important thing that needs to happen.
Could be a potential LeBron and Bronny Jr. thing coming up soon.
The Griffies. I mean, if it happens in the NFL, I think that's more impressive than anything that the Griffies or the LeBron Jameses could do. Yeah, no kidding.
Running back. You think it'd be like punter or something, not like, all right. Well, here, I was trying to see if there's any more questions. Maybe want to anyone have any questions in the chat? Want to maybe spend another 5 minutes? Let's get some questions.
Oh, so here's a question I had for you.
Okay.
As I was venting about the Patriots, here's the question I asked today. I know you're not a big college football guy, but I'm sure you've seen a little bit of it. Would you trade the Patriots offensive skill position players for Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and Najee Harris? I
Yeah.
would
What do
do
you
it.
have to? Yeah, they're
I
younger.
would do it
What
in
do
a
you have to lose? Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
yeah. I would
Mhm.
do it in a heartbeat at this point.
Okay, we have a question. Where did he get his AirPods? Great question.
Um, well, I actually bought them from Best Buy, but I've actually sworn off Best Buy since then because they screwed me out of my Xbox Series X.
Wait, what?
Um,
What? I did not expect this to go. Why? What happened with Best Buy?
well, I had my Xbox Series X pre-order, and then they canceled my order in the cart for whatever reason. And then I called and got no explanation from them, and I was not happy from this. I had it all checked out. I had a confirmation, so it wasn't like I took too long in the cart. No, I lost my Xbox Series X order for no reason, and then when I called customer service, I got nothing. So I was not happy.
Well, I'm sorry to hear this, Kyle. I'll write a strongly worded letter to them after I get done if I want to the NFL. Wait, this wasn't the one I wanted, but we'll do this also. Who wins between the New York Jets and George Tech?
Jets, but it's still not good.
Who is your? This is the good one for you. Who is your top wide receiver in college so far?
Oh man. Ooh, this is a great question. Okay. I'm gonna go with Devontae Smith. He's just the next in that line with the Alabama wide receivers. I'm not putting Jamar Chase in the conversation, obviously, because he's not playing. Yeah, Devontae Smith. I don't know what the Alabama wide receivers coach does, but some of these route runners are just absolutely absurd that they've churned out. They've had Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper, who's a fantastic route runner. Jerry Judy's obviously a fantastic route runner, and Devontae Smith is just in the same boat. He made some big catches in that Georgia game. Um, I would also probably, I think I love Jalen Waddle, and I think he has a higher upside. But I think Devontae Smith has just been awesome this year. He's the best receiver. I mean, the top two receivers in college football right now are both Alabama receivers, and it's almost unfair. They're just so good. I love both of those guys.
Yeah, it's like this one. How do you feel from Kalen Kessler? How do you feel about the chances of the Dolphins possibly being a wild card team? Could they be a wild card team, or are they still a year away?
I mean, we talked about this a little bit early on. I think the AFC, we talked about it. I think it's, right now I have it at 9 teams competing for 7 spots, and I have Dolphins at 10th. I don't know if they're there yet talent-wise, but they are racking up wins right now, and they're ahead of a team that I have in the playoff picture in New England, obviously because New England had the bye week. But yeah, I mean, they're winning the football games right now, and that's the most important thing. They're putting themselves in the position to have a shot. I just think talent-wise, they're not going to win out.
Yeah, they're kind of in that weird spot where it's like they're winning, like their record. People aren't really talking about them, but they are winning games. I think they have a shot. I think they also, definitely greater than 0. I'll say that, maybe around like 10-15% chance of making playoffs right now. Does that feel about right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay, and then we'll do one more question. This is a good one for you as well. How does Damian Harris look?
Looked great against Kansas City, who has a bad run defense. And then, stepped up on run defense competition a little bit against Denver and struggled. I thought they abandoned the running game from him a little early. And a lot of that was I think a lot of it was just because I think a lot of it just had to do with essentially James White was our only playmaker on offense today. And so we needed him on the field more. So he didn't get a lot of touches after the first quarter. I think he's going to be fine. I think he looks like he runs pretty well between tackles. He looks like he gets some pretty good vision. I think he's going to be good throughout the season. It was just a bad performance this week, and I think they really needed James White on the field, which kind of took him out.
Yeah. All right. Well, good stuff. Kyle, let them know where they can find you before we sign off here.
GuyBostonSports.com. I have an article up that went up today complaining about the Patriots not investing or developing in skill position. I don't know what it is, but they're one of the worst in the league at identifying talent for skill position and developing. I talk about that a little bit in the article at GuyBostonSports.com, where I also have the Patriot Way podcast. We'll have a new episode out this Wednesday. Make sure to go listen to that.
Yeah, good stuff. As always, you can support me on my Patreon. That's Jackson Kruger Sports. It's on the link for all my videos. Also follow me on Twitch. And until next time, have a good one.
Peace.